Good evening. This is CTV News. I'm Gina Barty.
And I'm Patricia Vallone. Thank you for joining us this evening. Well, Maryland lawmakers are pushing legislation aimed at limiting the federal government's access to state driver's license records. Now, supporters of the measure say if you have a state-issued license, agents with Immigration and Customs Enforcement can target you. Byron Scott has the story.
The hearing centered around SB 649, a measure that supporters say would limit ICE's ability to target immigrants.
So we found out about this because we've been working on this issue for the last couple of years.
The issue, according to Maryland State Senator Clarence Lamb, is the ability of Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents to access the Maryland driver's license database. It includes photos and information on millions of Marylanders.
And why this has come to a head now is because a couple of years ago, the House sponsor and I reached out to the Department of Public Safety to get a better understanding of how often these federal agencies are accessing this information. Last year, we were finally presented with information from the Department of Public Safety that shows that ICE specifically is to access this information and has used this dozens, if not more times, to be able to screen through this database.
Lamb wants to put a buffer on ICE's ability to access those records. Officials say ICE is using facial recognition technology to target and track individuals.
There's many bills right now in the legislature dealing with facial recognition because the technology is not perfect yet.
There have been federal studies that show this facial recognition software is very error prone, and so we're concerned that, number one, there's a privacy issue. Number two, there are a lot of errors that could potentially be generated, particularly against minority individuals. So what this bill does is require ICE to go before a judge to get a judicial warrant to be able to search through that database. It's no different than if you had an investigation and you want to do a search of a home or seize property. You have to go before a judge to be able to get a warrant and just show probable cause to be able to get that warrant to do that investigation, do that search. This applies that same standard as well to this database, that if ICE wants to access the database, it's not saying that they can't, it just says that they need to go before a judge and show probable cause, get that warrant, and then be able to generate that search.
We've been hearing very, very heartbreaking stories for a long time now.
Catherine Pugh of CASA says she has firsthand knowledge of immigrants being targeted. She cited the case of a man who was detained by ICE.
They arrested her husband right in front of their children, right? Arrested the husband in front of their children. The children asked the officers, "How did you get my information?" And they said straightforward, "I got it from the NBA database."
A hearing on Senate Bill 649 included members of CASA. In 2013, the state passed a law allowing undocumented immigrants to get a driver's license without having to prove legal status. Since then, more than 275,000 such licenses have been issued. If this measure were to become law, there is some fear that the state could face a backlash from the Trump administration. Stay tuned. In Annapolis, Byron Scott, CTV News.
The former mayor of Baltimore will spend the next 3 years in jail. A federal judge today ordered Catherine Pugh to jail for 36 months, followed by 3 years of supervised release. She also will have to pay about $400,000 in restitution and forfeit $669,000 in assets. Pugh was convicted of conspiracy to commit wire fraud and tax evasion connected to book sales she made to a hospital board. Before sentencing, she apologized to the city of Baltimore.
First, I just want to apologize to the citizens, to young people, to my partners, my friends, everyone I've offended, everyone I've hurt, and the city's image by pleading guilty and by being involved in all of this that has led me here today.
Maryland U.S. Attorney Robert Hur said after the sentencing that, quote, "We need our leaders to place their interest of citizens above their own." Meantime, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is slamming President Trump's plan to combat the coronavirus outbreak. She is calling the response opaque and chaotic. Pelosi also said the administration is ransacking funding from other vital public health needs. Meantime, Trump has tapped Vice President Mike Pence to lead federal efforts against the spread of the virus. It's a move that is causing controversy because of Pence's handling of Indiana's HIV outbreak when he was governor.
People of this country can be confident that under your leadership, We will continue to bring the full resources of the federal government in coordination with our state and local partners to see to the health and well-being and to the effective response to the coronavirus here in the United States of America.
We are hoping to work in a bipartisan way to stop the spread, to have serious prevention, science-based, evidence-based decision-making with professionals who know the territory of science and epidemiology to do the job.
Speaker Nancy Pelosi and State Minority Leader Chuck Schumer have released a joint statement outlining their demands for the coronavirus funding. They say the funds must be used solely for the fighting of the virus and other infectious diseases. They also want state and local governments reimbursed for any costs incurred while aiding the federal government's response.
A Maryland State Police trooper who faces domestic violence charges has been ordered to sleep at his office, literally. During a bond review hearing, a judge ordered 31-year-old Dennis Maguchi to stay at the Forestville State Police Barracks, where he works as a patrol officer. Maguchi was arrested Tuesday evening at his Laurel home. He's charged with 2 counts of second-degree assault and 1 count of reckless endangerment stemming from multiple arguments with his wife. Meantime, his wife, 28-year-old Lydia Kwaubhav, has also facing second-degree assault charges against her husband. Both are set to go on trial in May.